Hey there, pen peeps. Let's do a real quick pen mail video. I enjoy pen mail. Hopefully you do too. The 1970s, vintage. I enjoy vintage pens. I've got two vintage pens to share with you today. Although one is from the 70s, one is probably more likely from the 40s and 50s. So, the 1970s, some people think it to be a very fashionable period of time. I think there was some right ugly clothes that came out during the 70s because I ended up wearing a bunch of them. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But you know, there were some pens that apparently the rage in the 70s was to make pens thinner and longer, more slender. A few examples in my pen drawers I was looking at from the 70s. I've got a Montblanc 32. Where they kind of pared down how slender they were, but still not the slenderest of pens. Then I looked at an old Lamy, okay, kind of same as the Montblanc 32. Waterman Executive, that's a right thin, long one. Probably the longest and slenderest pen I had in my collection until like now. So I have been waiting. I mean, this took like 2 months to show up. Here's a tip. For those of you who order pens from Italy, shipping from Italy is ungodly slow. It will take a long, long time. I mean, I've ordered stuff from Bulgaria, Russia, England, France, Belgium, and a couple other countries, even Eastern Bloc, former Soviet Bloc countries, Germany, and they came here a lot faster than the Italian post had brought me stuff. But OMAS, yeah, OMAS, they're out of business, but OMAS, you kind of associate that with quality. So I figured I'd give a shot on a slender pen. I'm not much on slender pens, but I figured, what the heck, let's try it. An OMAS Rinascimento. I hope I got that pronounced correctly. It showed up in a box like this. Now, believe it or not, this was a new old stock pen. It had never been used before. The box is a little beat up. I think it got a little bit beat up in shipment. And, you know, what the heck, you know. I figured maybe it's part of that. Maybe it's just the age. Maybe it's been the way it's been stored. I don't know. But the pen itself was new old stock, unscathed, in perfect condition. So I went ahead and got the Rinascimento Modello, and here's what it looks like on the inside of the box. You've got the, yeah, this little thing's not holding together very well. You know, the OMAS logo down there, very slender pen, sits on the little pen bed, and you can pull this up, and I'll show you the pen here in just a moment. But the other things that it came with, underneath the little bed here, you've got the instructions. You got to pull up this little red velvet thing here, and it doesn't come up easily. There we go. It came with a box of cartridges. So, cartridges from the 1970s. Hadn't bothered opening it up to see if it's any good. And of course, you've got the OMAS manual like this. You open it up, it's in a bunch of different languages, documentation on it. It's not really so much a manual, but here's what it says. OMAS Rinascimento Black Celluloid. And then it says, like all OMAS lines, the stupendous luxury Rinascimento model is not mass-produced by finely worked and tested. Not very good English. The wonderful art of the old Italian masters comes alive again in these pens. It's presented in the following versions. So apparently this particular pen was released in black celluloid, white metal, laminated gold, and a lady version that was mostly silver. It's laminated, let's see, in laminated gold and white metal, presented in a special aluminum box. 2 cartridges are included with all types. The nib is gold 14 karat. The same rhodium treated nib is fitted to the white metal in the lady models. Let's see, all 4 models is made of the very highest quality materials, from all silver to very high content laminated gold. And yeah, that's about it. That tells you a little note about the cleaning and the care of it. So that's what came with it. Very small little booklet. So then you get to the pen itself. Very thin, very slender. Like I said, not a big fan of it, but I figured I'd give it a shot. Now, from my understanding, Rinascimento means Renaissance, and Modello means like template, that kind of thing, loosely translated. So you've got the clip. Here's what your finial looks like. Nothing much on the bottom, but this is the black celluloid version. And I found this on eBay from an Italian seller out of Naples, I believe. And this is what your nib looks like. I've got several nibs that are much like this. I've got, let's see, obviously I've got this OMAS, but this reminds me an awful lot of a Danny Trio, an older Danny Trio version that I've got. Now, it did not come with a converter. I went ahead and found a converter in my drawer, and it's got that push-pull kind of slide converter, which I really don't like, but it's the only standard international converter I had that would fit down inside this very slender section. I've got others that were just a little bit too much girth in order to fit down in there. So that's what I was able to put in to it, and I believe I inked it up with some Birmingham Pens Allegheny Arsenal gunpowder black is what I used. Now, how does it write? I'll be honest with you, it writes not quite as smooth as I would hope, especially for an OMAS, but I may be able to smooth that out just a hair, but it writes well. Don't get me wrong, it writes well, but I expected just a hair more buttery smooth, where it's got a little more feedback and maybe a little more scratchiness than I would prefer. So I may spend a little bit of time. Now, I found this for about $68 US plus shipping, as I recall. So I figured for a vintage OMAS, new old stock, it was worth the trial just to see if I liked it. So that's what I finally got after waiting for it for almost 2 months. Now, second item of pen mail. You know that if you've been watching my channel, you know that I like Watermans, and I actually purchased another Waterman just today. But I like older Watermans. At first, I was not real fond of the lever filling system for old fountain pens, but I guess it's kind of grown on me because I've used several other filling systems that, you know, they're okay, and some I like better than others, but I guess I'm getting more and more used to and use this a little more, so I'm getting kind of growing on me like mold, I guess. But a Waterman 32v, look at that, isn't that cute? Oh, it's so small. I didn't know it was this tiny. That's something, another bit of advice, when you look at your listings or the pen is being sold, whether it be from a dealer in a website or whether it's on eBay, look for the dimensions, and sometimes even when you look at the dimensions, and it doesn't really register that it's actually the size that it is. This said that it was like 4.5 inches, 4 to 4.5 inches long. It didn't click with me. So when I first started opening up the package, I'm going, man, it can't possibly be all there is. And I kept unwrapping it, and lo and behold, that's all there was. And I went, oh, isn't that cute? So it supposedly had been fully restored, so I had a brand new ink sac in it. So I went ahead and inked this one up, and it writes great. I was surprised. I was like, oh, I like it. I love it. So, you know, this is one of those, you've got to post it in order to be able to write with it. So I've added, just within the past couple of weeks, 2 vintage Watermans. Got another vintage Waterman on the way. So I'm really enjoying my vintage Watermans thus far. And this one writes very flexy, and it writes very smoothly. So I was really impressed with this one, and I think it was like $32, something like that. So anyway, that's my pen mail for today, and just thought I'd share that with you folks. So enjoy. 32V model for Waterman. If you happen to find one, especially if it's in really good condition, it's going to be kind of small, cute pocket pen, but it writes great. I'm really happy with it. And a vintage OMAS from the 70s, Rinascimento or Renaissance. So thought I'd share that with you guys. Thanks for watching. Enjoy. Grow your pen collection. Have some fun.